We're live. Hey guys, welcome. This is WordPress St. Petersburg. Welcome everybody out there in YouTube land and everyone local in Tampa, St. Petersburg, and anyone else who may be connecting to us from the web. This is our Ask Us Anything, our crowdsourcing WordPress support workshop, and we are WordPress St. Petersburg. I am Jim True. I am the lead organizer for the WordPress St. Petersburg Meetup group, and below me we have the rest of our organizers. We have Jennifer Novak. Say hi.
Hello.
We have Travis Lopes, a wave, and we have Elaine Simmons. And we could not do this without everybody here. All right, let's get started with the slides. We are WordPress St. Petersburg. We meet monthly on the first Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. We're online only through 2021. We may switch to being live at some point, but we'll wait and see how that goes. If you want to find out more about us, our meetup is meetup.com/WordPress St. Petersburg. Our website is wptampabay.org, and on our website we have all of our communication channels, our Slack chat, our Facebook group, and our Meetup links. We are a member of the WordPress Tampa Bay network. That means that we are a loosely organized group of Meetup groups that meet throughout Tampa Bay. The only ones that are currently active are ourselves, St. Pete, and Newport Richey, but we also have Tampa and Brandon out there. So hopefully at some point they will become active again. Our website lists all of our meetups and all of our past videos from our meetups and links to our slides and all kinds of stuff. It's very useful. Okay, upcoming meetups and events. Next week, June 8th, Newport Richey, WordPress Newport Richey is having a Hangout virtual June get-together. They just came back online again last month, and we had a blast. It was actually a lot of fun. We met the week after our last Ask Us Anything, and it was a very chill, great little conversation, talked about a lot of technical stuff. It was fun. I highly recommend that if you have time next Tuesday, go. It should be fun. In July 6th, we will be doing another Ask Us Anything crowdsourcing WordPress support workshop. We may change this to a scheduled talk. It'll depend on what the four of us decide, but we'll figure that out later. But for right now, it's an Ask Us Anything, so be there with your questions. We are looking for speakers. If you are interested in WordPress, web design, front end or back end, plugin reviews, theme reviews, anything pertinent to web design or entrepreneurship, we'd love to hear you talk. If you've never spoken public before, no problem. Live stream is a very safe space. It's also great for your resume, your LinkedIn, or your Twitter. If you're interested in becoming one of our speakers, contact us at wptampabay.org under speakers/call. All right, our code of conduct for tonight: there are no stupid questions except the one you didn't ask. If you don't ask a question, we can't help you with it. Limit your question, or we'll be limiting questions to 10 to 15 minutes anymore, and you should be hiring a consultant. And everyone gets to speak, but no crosstalk, please. That just basically means we're on live stream. It's very easy for people to talk over the top of each other, and you end up losing your microphone connections, and that's never good. Okay, dial-in etiquette. Boy, that was really good. Dial-in etiquette. We're using StreamYard for our live stream, and there's an invite link posted on Facebook and YouTube chat. Actually, it's not. Shame on us. Give me a second. I'll fix that right now. And not that we have that many people watching us, but you never know. We'll see. Yep, now it's out there. Okay. That includes guest instructions when you join in that actually walk you through configuring your microphone and your headphones properly. The first thing you want to make sure you do is that you test your connections and make sure that you're not getting echo from the video that you're watching. So if you're watching us on YouTube and you're watching us on Facebook and you try to dial in, you need to make sure that you mute the tab that has Facebook or YouTube on it. Otherwise, you're going to be playing multiple audio and we'll mute you. Okay? That's pretty much it on those. Let's see. Questions? Ask us anything. So let's get started. Let's drop the screen sharing away. Okay. And we'll bring, there we go. There's our folks. Okay, so we have some questions already from the meetup. Let's see. Let's start from oldest to newest. Red Rum. Redrum asks, WordPress database cleanup and website speed improvements. That's an interesting, it's a statement, not really a question, but it's not a bad question. As far as database cleanup, that's always one of those little dangerous areas that you can get into where, oh, we have a dial-in, Ann Barca. So let's see if Ann's got a question in a bit. Okay, let me pop that in there. Oh, hello from the far north. Andy's out there in the world as well. So database cleanup and website speed improvements. When it comes to doing a database cleanup, I start looking at the plugins and stuff like that and determine if it's safe to get rid of it or not. Because typically, I mean, the way WordPress is set up, it's not terribly complicated. But some plugins actually write their own tables and stuff like that. There's a WordPress tour of the WordPress database. Hang on, let me find that. You don't want to basically be doing database cleanup unless you know what you're doing. That's what I'm trying to say. And if you want to know more about that, there's a really great, hang on a second, brand banners, there we go. There's a great link for that. There we go. It's deliciousbrains.com/tour/WordPress/database. It explains the functions of every single table that is built into the standard WordPress installation, and also your multi-site installation. That will let you know immediately if another plugin has created tables on top of your installation as well, because they're not using those standard tables. But yeah, you can get into messes if you don't know what you're doing there. And I just highly recommend that if you don't know what you're doing, then don't touch it.
I think the biggest cleanup thing would probably be transients that are expired, should have been removed. Sometimes those can pile up a bit.
Where do those write to?
Those are in the options table.
Options table? Okay. I've heard about that one. I've never really known where they were. So, what about sessions? Do sessions do anything or write anything to the database? Or
some can. There are some plugins out there that will use native like PHP cookies and sessions. If you're doing load balancing, like the cookie and the session data is just on the server that serves you that page. So if you're using load balancing, like cookies and sessions can get out of sync. So there are some plugins out there that will store session data in the database. All like you will have is like a session ID that's stored in your browser, and then your browser communicates, hey, here's my session ID, and then like on the server side they pull the actual cookie data.
Got it. Okay.
And sometimes like those could possibly, not get deleted properly.
I know post meta, especially if you're using stuff like ACF or any of those that just write so many additional stuff. Like when you're clearing out one of those plugins, that's a good time to look at, any orphaned post data. So I think I may have lost my. Oh, I did. Hang on.
As far as website speed.
Oh, sorry. That was my. It's back now.
As far as like website speed improvements, a lot of the basic stuff. Make sure your images are optimized. Make sure your JavaScript files and your style sheets are minified. I would heavily recommend against using any plugins to combine style sheets and JavaScript files together. That can get you into a mess if the JavaScript files aren't loaded in the right way. Try to offload as many static assets like your uploads, your theme files to a CDN. And pay attention to what plugins you have installed. Not necessarily make sure you don't have too many plugins necessarily. Make sure the ones that you do have installed are doing things you need and aren't outputting too many assets out into your site.
Yep. Well, I know we have we did a talk on speed improvements for your website way back when we were still at the tech warehouse. Let me see if I can find that one real quick, because it's still pertinent, I think, and it talks about all of that stuff like optimizing images and things like that. We do not recommend. You can do a mix of
like optimizing before you upload. Having a plugin that optimizes when you do upload.
Yeah.
Using a CDN will alleviate a lot of stuff, both because the CDNs usually can deliver faster and it's reducing server resources. I know one of the issues we've actually been having at Rocket Genius with our Gravity Form site is increased server load, and that was partially because we did not have the CDN enabled. And as soon as we enabled the CDN, we saw like a big speed increase and like less 500 errors that were actually occurring.
Joe LaPrest and our WordPress Tampa Bay group, or Tampa group, did a talk on how to speed up your WordPress website on December 6, 2018, and it's still pretty pertinent, I believe. That one's in there, and we also have one from
John?
Yeah, I'm looking for him real quick. I'm not finding him by searching for speed. This is why we need to keyword our stuff on our posts and things, because the other stuff is not working too well for that. Optimize, I think, is what he put it underneath. Let me see.
Improving
yep,
WordPress performance.
There it is. Yep, improving WordPress performance. So those are the two. If you want to search our website, we have 2 talks on it. Okay, so going back to Meetup. Yes. Let me. Sorry, we have folks typing into YouTube chat, and you're probably going to be a few minutes behind us. But yes, you can ask your questions in YouTube chat or Facebook chat. Okay. All right. So next one from the Meetup list: recommended plugin for security memberships. Now, I don't know whether that means.
Is there a missing comma there?
That's what I'm wondering.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. So yes, there's a question from Jen, not Jen as in Jennifer Novak, but Jen as in Jen, G-I-N, like Jen Rummy, who asks, is there a recommended plugin for security, memberships or security and memberships maybe? If you're looking for something free and you're wanting to manage roles and capabilities and stuff like that, I highly recommend the members plugin. I think a lot of people do. They do have a pro version called WordPress. Let me see if I can pull that up real quick. WordPress plugins, members. Oh, come on.
As good as a plugin like Securi is for like detecting malware, I would personally. I'm not saying they're bad, don't use it, but like I would recommend against using it just because of the way they scan for things. It can be very server resource intensive. That's actually part of the issues that I just mentioned earlier with gravity.forms.com having load issues. Part of it was Securi and all the scanning that they do. I would recommend finding a WordPress host, because they'll check for this stuff better, that specializes in doing like those security checks like at the server level.
Yeah.
Where they're frequently like checking for plugin vulnerabilities, automatically updating you like if one is discovered, that kind of thing.
Exactly. Yeah, members is one I recommend if you're doing roles and capabilities. MemberPress is their premium version, which adds more things like Restrict Content Pro and most of the other, specifically membership plugins. There's paid membership. Is that the one? PMP? What is PMP?
Yeah, paid memberships pro.
Do they have a free version?
I believe so.
Okay, hang on, let me check. Paid memberships pro. That's a good one.
Yes, they do have a free version in the repo.
Okay, cool. All right. Yeah, it says get started now, $297. Yowza. But again, it's got some pretty hefty stuff in there. It really just depends on what you're looking for. We did do a talk on restricting content, membership content, that sort of thing. I think it was actually called. Oh golly, hang on. Let me search it real fast. Where's my website again? There it is. It was about roles and capabilities. And it evolved into that whole discussion about content. What's my role? Membership sites in WordPress. Hang on a second. Let me switch. So rude. Where in the world? Oh, I guess that tab is shared, not the other tab. There we go. Here. that talk. What's my role? Membership sites in WordPress, where we talk about roles and capabilities, how they work with them, and we also talk about different membership plugins and the different types. So that's a pretty good one there. Daniel Shootsmith also notes that Admin Menu Editor Pro is good for hiding content in the WordPress admin side from WordPress admin users based on role or even a specific user. I also use, there's a plugin called Nav Menu Roles, where you can actually hide menu parts of your navigation based on your access level. So it basically will hide, like you can actually set the access level of the menu items inside navigation based on
in access level in the sense of you can also do like, hey, if someone is logged out, show them this link. Someone's logged in,
exactly.
show them this link. But then also diving in deeper of like if they're an administrator, editor, etc.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So definitely a good one. There's a lot of stuff out there that can be a whole talk all on its own. So we have another question from the peanut gallery. You're not a peanut gallery. You're really not. You're wonderful. That's me trying to be funny. Sue asked, do you know of a plugin or tool that will identify media library files that are orphans, not used anywhere on the site? Typically, if you're in the media library, it'll tell you if an image is attached to a post, and most default media handling within WordPress will actually attach the post ID to the media. But if you're trying to find media that could be linked in, like someone just dropped it into a post, like as in included it in the post but didn't actually attach it to like featured image or to a gallery, yeah. I wouldn't even want to think about that. That's, I think, where you're looking at probably like Google Analytics, maybe.
There's a plugin called Media Cleaner.
Yeah.
Media Cleaner? I haven't heard of that one. Let me pop it up. Hang on.
It was last updated 2 months ago, so it's...
Wow.
And 40,000
That's
installs.
pretty... That's
Yeah.
not too bad. Love the little the little picture's adorable.
The little avatar is cute.
I know. I'm like going, wow. It's got a little kitty
I'm
cat
all
on
for
it.
any plugin brand.
Look at that. It's got a little kitty cat. That sells me right there. I could just,
It's
just
cute.
that alone. That's adorable. That's adorable. That is just too damn cute. Okay.
But yeah, it'll search your site for any images that aren't used anywhere. It'll put them in trash, an internal trash bin, so it's not permanently deleted automatically. But also just like making sure you're careful with this kind of stuff, because you could be using plugins or have written some custom stuff yourself that doesn't necessarily link a media item directly to a post, but it might be referenced in post meta, like off the ID. That if you delete that image, you could be find yourself having a problem.
Yep. Definitely. Okay. Going back to our meetup questions.
Actually, an interesting way to do that would be to use something like Media Cleaner, like on a staging site, and have it like remove all the unused content, and then have like an SEO tool that can like scrape your site and check for 404 images, and then you can know like if you actually deleted something that should have been left.
There you go. Oh yeah, like redirection tracks that stuff. If you're missing a file or put a link, or you've got a link that goes nowhere, or there's a link coming to your site that's nothing, it's very useful for that. That's what I used to use. Every time I would migrate a site, I would just log redirection. I would log redirection on, and then use it just for that alone. Arrgh. Sorry, guys. Somebody in this room is picking up my microphone or my AirPods, and it's driving me crazy. So, no idea why. Anyway. Daniel Shootsmith makes a comment that Meow, who is the people behind Media Cleaner, also makes the Retina Images plugin. They have adorable branding. I mean, yeah, with a name like Meow.
The WordPress and Lightroom sync. That's exciting too. You do a lot of photography.
Very cool.
The gallery.
All right, let's see. Okay, here's another question from Meetup. Let me drop this in our chat real quick. Let's see. Valerie Nunez Dangle asks, I am wondering if anyone has ideas of how to make our site work better since I manage it and will be leaving the company soon. Unfortunately, it didn't link your site, so I don't know what site you were talking about. But typically when I'm leaving a company, I do an audit of what's on the site to make sure everything there needs to actually be there. Depending on how soon you're leaving, clean up anything that is unnecessary, streamline if possible the flow so that it's not hard to pick it up if someone else has to come in. Make sure you've documented every single connection possibility, the database, the FTP, SFTP, SSH, any of that stuff, the hosting connection, the domain connection, all of it. If you were in charge of all of that, go ahead, Travis. Yeah.
Make sure the hosting account, main admin site domain, any third-party services that are connected to the site, make sure none of those use your email address.
Yeah.
Make sure they're connected to someone else. That's why, like, a common thing we like to do is, like, we have a web at gravityforms.com account, and, like, any third-party service is registered and connected against that, so it's not in any specific person's.
Yeah, we did a talk about this at a nonprofit discussion at Tech for Good, and that was part of the stuff we discussed. Is that one of your single point of failures is usually the technical person that you've put everything in, or it could be you if you're the one who's doing all of that for a nonprofit. And then you get burnout and you want to leave, and everything is in your email address and on your credit card and all that kind of stuff. And you have to think like that when you're doing a nonprofit, that you have to recognize that, you could get hit by a bus tomorrow, or you could win the lottery, one of the two. And you need to be able to make sure that you can step away from the process. Like even WordPress when I took it over originally, I had a lot of it in my name, but I specifically, over the last several years, we've got an open collective, which is where the money goes. So that it flows into that system and then flows out of that system as far as expenses go. We have a Gmail account specific to just lost my headphones again. Sorry, guys. And they're back. That is so annoying. I think. Am I back?
We hear you.
No one's saying
I hear you.
Okay. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Because I can't hear me.
Maybe disable Bluetooth on your other Apple devices.
I think I may have lost internet.
Still here.
Still here. Oh, it is getting blurry though.
Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. Okay, yeah, I was like frozen for a second there. That was kind of weird. Anyway,
If you can, Jim, disable Bluetooth on any device nearby.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that right now. Hang on. Good idea.
Yeah, always make sure that like any related accounts like are not in directly some person's name. They're in some general web or company account that anybody can access, or that should be able to access can access. Also, like if you did like custom theme or plugin development on it, go through your code, make sure it's well documented, because there's probably or well commented. Because I'm sure there's some stuff where it's like, why like this weird line is here, and like somebody else is not going to be able to come back in after you and understand why that logic is a specific way.
Yeah. Yeah. Basically, document what you can. Also recognize that you are on a WordPress site. So one of the nice things about WordPress is that you can throw a stick out the window and hit a WordPress developer, and that's pretty much it. You're going to find somebody that can pick up where you were. It's not a big deal. Just make sure that, again, like all of us are saying, don't keep it in your name. Anything in your name is going to come back to stab
It's
you.
too much unnecessary responsibility, honestly.
Agreed. Yeah, it is. So, and support nightmare. We get it all the time at Gravity Form Support, because the person who did the site will put everything in their name, and then they'll be done with the client, and the client's go, well, I know I've got Gravity Forms on here. I can see it right here. But they don't have an account, or they've never paid for it, or otherwise, that kind of thing. So make sure licenses, all that stuff. I think we've answered that one pretty good. All right, choosing the right plugins. That's a really good question. How do you choose the right plugins, folks? Jen?
Research.
Elaine?
Research.
Travis?
Research it. Make sure it's updated consistently. Make sure there's support.
Try it on a staging site first. That's where you can
Yeah,
really
staging
make sure, like,
sites.
it doesn't break anything. You can actually make sure, like, hey, is the code safe? Stuff like that. Most premium WordPress plugins are safe, but also most premium WordPress plugins have a refund policy, so you can actually try it out,
Yeah.
make sure things are good, and if it isn't, you can get a refund.
Not all premium. Don't. If they actually are self-hosted premium, yes, sometimes, but not all premiums are.
Most. I feel
Most.
safe saying that most are good.
Most are good. Yes. Yeah.
Most are
They have
not.
enough.
Well, I'll say this: most are not outright nefarious.
Right.
I would say,
And there
probably
are
a good
quite a
chunk
few.
have
There
security
are quite a
holes
few free ones that
unintentionally.
are.
Yeah.
Yeah. There are quite a few free ones that are actually quite good too. But you have to look at how often they're updated, how well they handle their support queue, and also sometimes the ratings. Even though the ratings can get kind of weird. So,
And
there's a
Daniel
lot
in
of
the
people-
chat is correct. Like, accept the fact that you will choose some bad plugins that you won't realize until much later down the line, and it might
I like
not
it,
necessarily. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I look at how well documented they are and how many people have either written about that plugin or how many videos there are about that plugin as well. Because that way you know that you can also find support elsewhere.
Yeah.
And it's nice to have before you, especially if it's a plugin that you need to invest in. But whether or not you invest dollars in it, you're investing time in it, which is money. It's nice to see other people's use cases because use cases aren't always exactly the same. You might need just one specific part of what that plugin does to work a certain way. And sometimes through the documentation, because it's maybe not the most common use case, you can't always find that. So sometimes you can find other people using it in a similar way. So that's been helpful.
And also,
And
saying
sometimes
this
it's
as-
features that, it's not the main feature of the plugin. However, it is something that's through its process, it can take care of whatever scenario you have or whatever scenario you need. But it's not well documented within that company's documentation. So to have someone else saying, hey, this is how I used it, it's helpful.
And equally, and I say this coming from the plugin seller side and someone who's bad at communicating those use cases, reach out to like the pre-sales, ask them does this work the way I specifically need it to?
Oh,
And a
yeah,
lot of
that's
times
a
I'll
great one.
ping them with just an innocuous question that I have just to see how much response I can get, because sometimes you just don't ever get a response, or the response you get is like, it doesn't even make sense. And I'm like, okay, if your sales team can't understand me, there's probably no one at the company that's gonna be able to work with what I need.
Yeah. I'll be honest, how many times that I've actually bought a plugin and got a refund with it within the 30 days, but I bought it just knowing that I was going to do that to see if I could test it out and if I could figure it out on my own quickly. And I have bought several plugins where I don't even bother to look at the docs. I just see if I can figure it out.
Yeah.
And and I think you're going to find that there's a lot of people that do that. They actually do just dive in head first without reading the stuff first. So
And it depends on what it is too. I mean, if it's just a simple, like, I need this to do this, and it should be fairly simple, yes. But if it's a, complicated process or something remotely involving WooCommerce or something, to that effect, it's got so many moving parts, then no. But if it's a simple process, then yeah, you should be able to just, if you can't download it or upload it and figure out how it works, sometimes it's just not worth it.
And that's
It's
part of the
something that
problem
should
too.
be
Is like
simple.
a lot of plugin developers don't think, because this is primarily like how I approach plugin development. Is like I try to build out things so you do not need the documentation. Everything
Yes.
with the way the interface is should just be very self-evident. You should be able to walk yourself through it.
And that's the way it should be. I mean, if you look
Yeah.
at the way software works now, that's exactly the way they should be. I mean, years ago it came with the huge paper manual that you had to print out and flip through and go to training for. And now most software, you should be able to just get into it. If you know what it does, you should be able to get into it and figure out how to make it work.
Most themes, unfortunately, do not give that feeling. Like I've known jumping myself in, like having to go in on support calls and check out a person's website, and like I was jumped into like Oxygen the other day. I was like, I don't know where any of this stuff goes, or I don't even know what this does, and I'm like going, how do you figure this shit out when you don't know? Because like Elementor at least is, I can figure my way around Elementor. Beaver Builder was really easy to figure out. I thought.
See, I was using Beaver Builder the other day, looking into an issue, and I was like, "How do I use this? This seems overly complicated."
It is, but it's not terrible.
It depends on what you need to do. There's some things in there that it's like, well, this should be so simple to do, and this should be right here, and why is it not right here? And then there's other things that it's like, oh, I didn't have to look this up. It's right here. It makes sense. But it just depends on what you need to do.
Andy did a good one. He says, who remembers the acronym RTFM? I can't say that because we're on YouTube and we might lose our monetization. Not that we have any.
I mean, you just used a swear like 90 seconds ago, Jim.
What, shit? You can say shit. You can say that without losing your monetization. You can say the poop emoji. You just can't say that other word that starts with F. Anyway, what was I going to say? There was a comment about, Divi. Divi was the one that just, the first time I played with that thing, I was like, I do not follow this. It was the original Divi. Do you remember the original Divi? The one.
Somewhat. I remember when they were trying to do the original. They'd switched over and they were trying to do the front end editor, and that was a hot mess.
Yeah, and I haven't played with it since then because I can't ever get it to load up on a site. That's been my primary issue. Is it takes so many resources, it kills the website.
It does take a lot.
See, I look at some of those page builders and I'm like, I would rather just go back to Dreamweaver where I would like make those templates and make like the editable regions and just like use those to be much quicker.
God, dude, like Dreamweaver was not easy at all. So sorry, but not
I would argue
easy.
It's easier than a lot of page builders.
Yes, I would agree. It is definitely easier than a lot of stuff, and it's like just sometimes you wonder. It's that whole thing about, does the function of the screen items and the icons and everything, do they help you get to where you need to go, or do they hinder? And it was like when the Gutenberg decided to remove, I don't know what it was they removed, but I think it was the drag and drop thingy. And it's like, why would you get rid of something that was there and people were used to, and then they added it back because people complained? You know, that kind of stuff. Like, why would you use odd icons? Why would you use things that don't make sense?
I feel like part of the issue.
I reached out to Divi just a few days ago for I just couldn't figure out how to adjust some. I mean, it was just padding and margins and stuff like that. And the tech support person gave me these answers, these formulations that really didn't make any. They worked, but they didn't make sense in terms of the way the web works. You know?
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, this is a total. You have to own Divi as a license and contact tech support to even get a simple answer, to figure something like this.
Yeah.
I think that gets down to like there's so many plugins out there that they start and they do a thing, and then a customer writes in and they needed to do another thing, and they add it and they add it and they add it and they add it, and they get so far away from the main thread that it just becomes too unwieldy to handle. And like that's it. You end up with
a lot of
Jetpack.
software is like
Jetpack's
that.
a perfect example. I mean, Jetpack started, I think, probably kind of reasonably, and then it just kept adding so much crap on top of it. And like I can't even think about installing it now because it's just got too much stuff. We have it installed on Tampa Bay WordPress because I use it for their related content management, but that's the only thing I use it for because it's putting that kind of a system on your own site, unless you're manually managing related content. It's too thrashing to the database. It's because you're basically constantly querying the database for anything that matches keyword wise, and it's not good for your.
There are some plugins out there that will cache it.
I know WP Engine hates that shit, and there's a couple other ones like.
So why don't you use WP Engine?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, so. Let's see if we have any other questions here. Choosing the right, we said that one. It's an interesting statement, but I don't know if it's a question either. It's plugin development and API integration. It's a statement, not a question. Okay,
That,
folks.
no, that's not a statement. That is a multi-workshop topic.
That is a
It's like a
multi-workshop
workshop
topic.
series.
Yes, that's a workshop series. Yeah. That's a good one. But that's a hard one to answer. Because we can't really teach you how to code. That's not going to be anything with it. And that's going to be something that you're going to have to like... they don't even have PHP classes anymore, do they? Really?
Somewhere else too.
Yeah, because I'm trying to sit there and think. Like, I remember...
Oh, I think Codecademy still does it.
Does Codecademy still do that?
Codecademy, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because I know that was a big beef that a lot of people have talked about how
Yeah,
no one
learn
teaches
PHP
PHP.
with Codecademy.
Okay. Does it teach WordPress development PHP?
Probably not.
Yeah, because that's what I think is gone. Because like Treehouse used to do it, and
Even
who's the other guy?
Lynda, whatever they call lynda.com now, LinkedIn Learning.
Yeah, I don't,
You don't
think
think
they
they
have
teach there?
not
I
as
think
much
they
as they used to.
But you
Let me
are much better served learning PHP and JavaScript itself rather than just learning PHP in the WordPress context. It will get you way further.
True. But if you sit there and think about it, though, would you want to hire someone that knew PHP but had not done WordPress development?
My thing would be, let me see their code. I can let you know how quickly like I could get them integrated. into the system.
Udemy has a class on WordPress developer course. Start learning today, which is PHP, JavaScript,
there's-
WordPress theming, and the WordPress REST API.
Linda, it says 2020.
They
PHP
do?
for
Oh.
WordPress.
I'm not
I
saying
thought they'd
don't
been-
understand PHP in the WordPress context, but don't like start off with that. Like understand PHP
Right.
and how to use it itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And start interacting with it. So that way, because if you don't split it that way, the line will start to blur on understand like, is this function like a PHP function? Is it a WordPress function? Because not all WordPress functions are actually prefixed, and
Yeah.
you can lose the line.
Well, it's kind of hilarious, dude. I looked up classes for WordPress, and I got object-oriented PHP WordPress, and then I got classes, WordPress developer resources, as in object-oriented classes.
Good SEO.
Nice. Yeah, good SEO. Yeah, even like the plugin developer handbook, I think that's can get you somewhere along those lines. There is learning PHP for WordPress development, but oh god, the dates on these are so old.
The
Yeah.
book.
Yeah, LinkedIn isn't even
Paper?
coming up at the top, which is weird. Let me change the stretch on that one. Yeah, that's always been a hard thing. Like, they always sit there and say learn JavaScript deeply, but you cannot do... Sorry, guys. Boys! Cut it. Everybody on the call, be quiet.
A little back talk there.
Sorry. Anyway, what was I going to say? They push JavaScript so heavily for WordPress, but you still have to know PHP, correct? You can't do a website or WordPress development solely with JavaScript, can you?
You could do it largely with JavaScript, with a lot of new approaches. I would recommend on the JavaScript side. I'm going to drop a couple sites. UI.dev, the letters UI as in like user interface.dev, has some React, regular JavaScript, and some Redux courses. There is epicreact.dev that has a couple React courses, both like how React fundamentals, advanced React patterns. There's also Wes Boss, WESBOS.com. He does a whole slew of, he has like beginner JavaScript courses, ES6 courses, CSS Grid, how to use Node, Flexbox, Redux, all that kind of stuff. All of those courses I recommended, I have taken in some capacity. I will not say I've completed them because that's like a personal flaw. But
hey, you started
recommend
them.
all
That's all that matters,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. Yeah, I can't tell you how many classes I've started and not finished. So, I think our meetup is done. As far as meetup questions, we're out of the questions that were in our RSVPs. And is anybody asked anything new in YouTube chat land? We're at 7:10. Nope.
I have a
Nothing
question.
new in the YouTube. Go for it, Elaine.
I on one side I have a curl error 28.
We've got an article for that.
Do with
Yes.
really what?
We have
got
an
an
article for that. Give me just a second. I'll give you a link. It's written by one of our guys.
I'm going to post it in the private chat.
Flatiron? I
Go
don't
for
know.
it,
Okay.
What? We have an article for that?
It is the curl error 28 is something that comes up very commonly in Gravity Form support. One of our support engineers wrote up a whole article and like, what is curl?
Amazing
like,
article.
what is this error? And like, here's ways you can resolve this problem. It's
Yeah.
very good. I recommend it to our own customers all the time.
right.
All the time. Yeah, and he actually wrote a really great like if you're having issues with, there it is. It's Samuel Aguilera, post seer URL. If you search for curl error 28 WordPress and Sam, you'll get it. So.
But you're not going to say in a few words what. It's a
No.
memory. It's a memory. Memory
It's
timeout.
It's complicated.
All right.
It could be an SSL verification issue. It could be a timeout issue.
That's what it's kind of saying. Both those things. SSL, even though I have
Yeah.
really simple SSL installed.
Yeah, it's going to be server related, whatever it is, and he'll give you the walkthrough on the troubleshooting on those. That's I've learned so much in just the last couple of months about all of those weird little 404, 410s and stuff like that errors and what they come from and what they mean, especially in regards to API. Fascinating.
Because it could
Absolutely
totally be
fascinating.
that like your SSL verification and your timeouts are set correctly, but the version of what am I looking for here? Of like curl and stuff is like out of date.
Oh,
TLS.
yeah.
TLS is out of date, so like you can't
Yeah.
actually like verify certificates correctly.
Yeah, and those are libraries on your Apache web
That's
server
server
usually.
side. Okay.
Yeah, the server side. Usually that stuff is something specific on the library at the server level and is out of date. That's one thing I can honestly say quite a bit. The tool, I'm glad they've done it, and I don't know why. When did they start doing the site health in WordPress?
A couple versions.
Was it like
ago,
5.5 or
5.5,
5.4?
5.6.
Yeah, not long
Okay.
ago.
Yeah, I have to say, honestly, it's really good. It's very helpful. I wish that they were more consistent with their heading labels for their
5.2.
tests. 5.2, okay. Yeah, I wish they were more consistent with their heading labels, like, because an authentication issue, in one point they'll name it security, and then in another one they'll name it performance. And I'm like going, would you please just put it in the same place each time, you know? Or they'll put an SSL, problem with your SSL security certificate, in security, and then sometime they'll put it in SSL. And it's like, just be consistent. That's all I ask. But it's very useful. As far as like if you do have errors in that particular part of your system, you should definitely look into getting them fixed. They're not bad. So.
Okay.
And we pushed health check quite a bit here as well, and I've actually noticed it's actually getting better. I thought it was getting worse, but it's actually getting better as far as like more stable. So, any thoughts on that one? Talk, Travis? Nah. Okay. Any other questions?
There's one in the chat from Andy if you want to.
Oh, sure. Hang on a second. I'll pop back over there. I flipped away and then I saw the comments had 2 questions. So, oh, that's a good question. Okay, Andy asks, I thought I had asked this on the Facebook page. Is there a way that more than one theme can be used? Oh, you did ask this on the Facebook page. I'm so sorry, Andy. Can be used on a website. Could this be dealt with through subdomains? How would you integrate a single sign up for that? Based on the way WordPress is handled, themes are at the site level. But yes, you could do it through subdomains with multi-site. Yeah.
Or subdirectories.
Or subdirectories, yeah, like multi-site subdirectories, that kind of thing. It depends on what you're wanting to do and why, because you might be able to handle that better just with the content itself and the design of the content. Like the Tempe WordPress site. I knew that I wanted to make sure that each of our pages, oh, he's got a comment here. An example one might be to use a lightweight theme such as Cadence for the majority, but require the use of BuddyBoss for parts of it. That's not really a theme type thing. That's actually more of a content type thing. Because in that situation, BuddyBoss is really your social marketing thing, I believe. BuddyBoss is like BuddyPress, right?
It's a Facebook type thing?
I think it's
Really?
memberships that look like.
Oh, it's boosted. It's
Like
gone
a
way beyond what it
learning
used to.
platform?
Yeah, I knew it was supposed to be a BuddyPress replacement, but I guess it's gone way beyond that. So, probably because BuddyPress didn't been touched in forever. So, is my guess. I find it so funny that the plugins that they want you to install immediately on the top of the list, you know, in WordPress when you go in there, BuddyPress or BBPress was one of those for the longest time, and I'm going, really? Plugin that hasn't been touched for forums and forever, and you're gonna keep pushing that one? So. But yeah, and yes, you can add another WordPress site in a folder and say, yeah, you don't have to use multi-site. You can definitely coordinate multiple sites within the same set of WordPress, but you will not be able to share your membership user accounts between them. Those are completely different installations. So like if you installed in your primary and then put a directory underneath and installed another WordPress instance inside that subdirectory, it would be in there, but it would be its own site at that point and would not share any kind of user accounts or otherwise. There may be ways around that, but yeah. Andy says it's like BuddyPress, but they're, yeah. So weird. I hate that they're calling those themes.
If
Go ahead.
you really wanted to get into it, I'm sure there's a filter somewhere that you could change the active theme and like change it based on the page currently loading. I probably would highly recommend against them unless you like really know what you're doing.
And that really comes down to themes should not have plugin functionality. That's the biggest issue with all of that process, is that if you're installing a theme because it has a functionality that you need that's really functioning more like a plugin, you should be focusing on the plugin and not the theme. Because themes should be design only. Your content is driven by your site, your content management system, and the plugin should be providing functionality of that style. I have always had an issue with the way BuddyPress, BBPress, and those have tied themselves so tightly to the theme to the point that you couldn't even get most things to work if you didn't have a BuddyPress theme installed or a BuddyBoss theme installed or something like that. Yeah, that's never a good idea. I used to do the same thing. I used to shop for a customer's website based on what their functionality they wanted, and I would actually buy like a sports theme, or I'd buy a yoga studio theme, and you run into a mess because they bundled all these plugins as part of their theme, and then that particular plugin goes out of style or whatever, and you're screwed. So that's when, if I were going to go back to the old world that I used to do, I would say watch my video on pods. Grow beyond posts and pages, and do it with pods. But truthfully, when it comes down to it, your content should be completely separate from your design. Those are completely separate things. And it's much better to manage your content with your content management system and then just design pages around when the content changes. Like, the WordPress St website is what I was referring to. We have, at the time when we first launched it, we had 6 meetup groups, and they were all color-coordinated. And I basically assigned a category or taxonomy based on color, and it applied throughout the site, and I use it throughout the site in that way to define, you know what page you're on based on the color of that particular page. So it's doable. There are lots of ways around it. But yeah, I would look at the function of what you're trying to do, Andy. But yeah, it sounds like with the BuddyBoss, I haven't played with Buddy Boss, so I just don't know anything about it. You hope there was a more realistic workaround. No, there's not. Yeah, that's a good question. That's a good statement. I'm going to share that one because it's a good one. I was afraid your answer is what I expected, but I hope there was a realistic workaround. Nah. Sorry, bud. I mean, you don't have to. You don't have to put the Buddy Boss on every single page. That is kind of the concept too, is that you can isolate the Buddy Boss features to specific pages and content on your site as well, and that might be the best way to restrict that. Maybe. Anyway. Yeah, I don't know enough about cadence either as a theme goes. So, any other stuff? We're at 7:20. This may be one of our shortest meetups yet. Or we're just so efficient at answering questions. You guys are too quiet. Okay. All right. So next week, Newport Richie, Daniel Shootsmith, is doing his hangout. Make sure you come over if you want to hang out. It's fun. And I see you out there hanging in the chat land. She's waving back. She didn't have any questions. She just wanted to learn, listen, and hang out. So that's one of those kind of things. It's fun. We love having on our call. Okay, so like and subscribe us on YouTube. Follow the channel. Click the little bell on YouTube so make sure you get notifications when we update stuff. And let me see what else. Of course, visit our website, wptampabay.org, to find out when things are happening. And I guess I should actually do those little banners, huh? My brain is obviously not working today. Visit our website at wptampabay.org. Like and subscribe to us on YouTube. All that good stuff. And I'm going to go ahead and play our end cue music, and I will see you guys in a month, but I will actually be at Daniel's meetup next week. So thank you, Elaine and Jennifer and Travis. Thank you always for sharing this wonderful space with me. Otherwise, I'd be incredibly boring, I think. So, all right, guys. See you guys in a month. Thank you for watching a recorded session from WordPress St. Petersburg Meetup. We meet once a month on the first Tuesday of the month, live streaming online through our YouTube channel and Facebook group. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up on YouTube, and be sure to subscribe and click the bell to be notified when new videos are added. Find out more about WordPress St. Petersburg at our website at wptampabay.org.